Today on Commander Replay, even though the professor gave these commanders a failing grade, we're gonna see if we can earn some extra credit as we check out Telim Tor, the Unspeakable, Anthousa Citizen Hero, and Isao Enlightened Bushi. Next on Commander Replay. I want to thank my awesome Patreon supporters. You guys are awesome. If you want to help support the channel and vote on which decks I play next, feel free to check out my Patreon at the link below. And be sure to use the TCG affiliate player link as it helps support the channel and it doesn't cost you anything. Welcome back, everyone. Got a fun little episode for you today. We are playing The Commanders That Fail as presented by Tolarian Community College about a week or so ago. We chose 4 of the commanders in that video and all decided to build around them and see what kind of decks we could come up with. I will be playing Telim Tor today. I am playing a 5-mana 2/2 that's got flanking, and whenever it attacks, all attacking creatures with flanking get +1/+1 until end of turn. Yeah, I mean, it seems like it's going to be a little bit underwhelming, especially for 5 mana, but so should everyone else's commander, and we'll go through those in just 1 second. Ended up keeping a hand that looks like this. We drew into a Dockside Extortionist on our first turn right here, and you'll notice 2 colorless lands, but with Armillary Sphere and Thaumatic Compass, I feel really good that we're going to be able to get our mountains going nice and quickly. So we'll play the Gaia Reach Sanitarium first. We'll just tap out and pass and do the old thinger right here, But as far as our deck is concerned, it's going to be a good stuff red combat deck is basically what we're looking at. We got some extra combat spells. We see one right here with Combat Celebrant. We got a little bit of Double Strike. We got some equipment, a little bit of Ultron, just a lot of things you'd expect if you were looking at a red combat deck. One of the things I am worried about, 5 mana is a pretty awkward spot. When you play a 5-drop, you really need to be getting some benefit out of it, and this thing is definitely underwhelming for 5, and I am worried that just like other cards in our deck are going to kind of steal the show, things like Balefire Dragon and stuff like that. So it's a concern of mine, but hopefully we get a decent look at our commander. We do have a rule for this game that you do need to cast your commander at least once. But other than that, I told everyone to build to a level where you might want to take this deck against other regular decks that are not specifically in this video. So that was the kind of goal that we were going for. But anyway, it brings back to our turn. We draw a mountain. Mountains are good. We'll go ahead and play this Armillary Sphere and pass like that. 3 visits for the Anthousa opponent. Sky Diamond for opponent. All right, got an artifact. Start doing the artifact count for this Dockside Extortionist. 2 green players, though, and green decks not so heavy on the artifacts and enchantments, so we're probably going to be looking at the Unspeakable to lay down the artifacts and enchantments we want to get that mana ramp. There's a Tribe-Elder for Chaotix. Brings back to our turn another mountain, a play the mountain. We'll go to our opponent's turn before we crack the Armillary Sphere, just so we don't have to discard the hand size. There's a Cultivate for opponent. We'll crack our Armillary Sphere with that on the stack. Get 2 mountains. And with that, let's take a look at what opponents are actually playing. So first up, we have Zach Ryan piloting Anthousa Citizen Hero, and this is one that I actually played on the channel a really long time ago. I'll link that video in the description below. It's actually a pretty cool little commander. You know, as far as commanders that fail, I think Anthousa is probably the most interesting of the group. The one thing I remember from playing Anthousa is that you had to do a lot of math about how many lands you can use for mana and how many lands you can use for creatures, and that was one of the things I found challenging with the deck, but it's also what makes it interesting, so I thought that was kind of cool. But compared to a lot of options that are out there now, the format's sped up a lot. Anthousa is definitely going to be a little bit slower, needs time to get a lot of lands into play, then use some of those lands for creatures, some for mana. It's a tricky commander, it's interesting. I can see why it made the list of commanders that fail, but I feel like it's probably, or at least at one point, was the most playable of some of the things we have going on here. But so I guess I'm like a little bit surprised, but not surprised that it kind of made the list in that regard. But you know, when there's like 10 2/2s knocking on your door, it could be a thing, so we'll watch out for that. Chaotix did lay down a Cultivate right there, and GVR did drop down a Primal Amulet. And with all that, that brings it back to our turn. There is an Inferno Titan. Inferno Titan is sweet. Let's play... What do we got? We're on 2 artifacts and enchantments. Did we Dockside yet? I don't know. See if we can wait 1 more turn. Play the Mountain. Well, we're on 4 right now. Yeah, I guess let's just do it now. Play Dockside, and then we'll play Thaumatic Compass. So Dockside will get us 2 treasures. And then we'll play a Thaumatic Compass. So our mana production's looking pretty good right here. Feeling good about that. Continuing on our opponents, next up we have GVR piloting the Unspeakable. He said this devolved into a combo deck somehow. I'm not really sure what that combo is going to be. But it is a 9-mana 6/7 flying trample. Whenever the Unspeakable deals combat damage to a player, you may return target arcane card from your graveyard to your hand. Sounds interesting. That is combat damage, by the way, so it does remove some tricks that could make it more abusable. There's a Sturmgeist for opponent. Yeah. Oh, by the way, I'll read Anthousa's ability in case some of you aren't familiar with it because it's not a very common commander. So it's a 5-mana 4/5, says Heroic. Whenever you cast a spell that targets Anthousa, up to 3 target lands you control each become 2/2 warrior creatures until end of turn. They're still lands. So you have to target Anthousa, your lands become creatures, and then you have to manage how many creatures you need to attack and how many lands you need to attack and how many lands you need to produce mana to do stuff like overruns and things. It's a very interesting commander. I actually ran into someone locally that had a, I think, foil Anthousa deck. Like, they really liked Anthousa. So that was definitely their jams, but... So Chaotix plays a Regrowth, grabs the Cultivate, and is going to Cultivate once again. And finally, that brings us to Chaotix, who is piloting Isao? I don't know how to say that. Isao Enlightened Bushi. It is 3 mana for a 2/1 that can't be countered. It has Bushido 2, and then it has 2 Regenerate Target Samurai. Interesting. I don't know, Mono Green Voltron? There's not a lot of Samurai in green. I don't know what to do with it. Hopefully he's got something spicy for us. We'll see what he's got. Brings back to our turn. There's a Castle Embereth. Enters the battlefield tapped unless you control a mountain. We do control a mountain. So I think we'll go ahead and play the Castle Embereth. This seems like a fine turn to get our commander into play, since our commander will be a little bit slow for us. And then maybe next turn we think about this Sword of Fire and Ice. Obviously I can make other plays first, but, you know, with the caveat of we have to cast our commander at some point, now seems like a fine time. And we'll do a little pokesies with the Dockside Extortionist right here. Send it over to the Anthousa. I feel like it's the deck I know the most about, so I don't know. Does that make it scarier? Maybe. So, opponent's going to cast their Anthousa. Commander into play. It's a 4/5. Not going to be going that direction anymore. Sturmgeist over to the Anthousa opponent. That's going to be 5 in the air. And opponent's going to get to draw a card. Yeah. Sturmgeist up to a 6/6. Plays land back down to a 5/5. Murmuring Mystic coming into play. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, create a 1/1 blue bird illusion creature token with flying. Yeah, doesn't seem awful. Ooh, Tireless Tracker coming into play. That's a pretty good Magic card. Landfall. Gets a treasure. Or a clue, rather. If he taps out his mana and can't sacrifice the clue, I'm definitely going to go Fire and Ice and shoot it. Although, here comes a Shadow Spear, so that might not be on the table anyway. Gonna equip the Shadow Spear, yep. And still has the 2 mana up. Keeps it out of Fire and Ice range, although it could be an Inferno Titan range. Oh, and then they're going to put a counter on it. Now it's not. Now it's a 5/4. Or in Reef of the Vastwood to put the counter on it. Yeah. It's pretty large. It's pretty large. We're probably going to need to get something beefy into play of our own. That's a Cavalier of Flame. That's a cool card. Let's get the Scavenger Grounds into play. Seems like it could be important against the Unspeakable. So, this would be funny. We could send Telim over to Chaotix. If he blocks, flanking will happen, and then we can shoot it with the Inferno Titan. I'm going to see if he's biting. See if we can get the most out of this flanking ability. So, into Chaotix. Is this other creatures? Oh, no, it pumps itself up, so that's cool. So, it does become a 3/3. That is nice. Chaotix just going to take that hit for 3. That seems fine. Seems like maybe a good turn for the Balefire Dragon. Haven't seen a lot of removal yet. I guess 2 green decks, though, so probably not so much removal. The blue player might have some, though. Counter spells and things. This might just go away real quick. All right, yep, there's an Arcane Denial. Well, at least we'll get some card draw out of it. But opponent's going to get a bird. Primal Amulet's going to get a counter. Yeah, that all seems like good stuff right there. That's kind of the blowouts. It was a big play that just got countered. That's how you lose games. Opponent's going to play a Reach Through the Mists. We'll pass like that, and we get our card draw at the beginning of the next turn here. There's a Tome of Legends and a Swiftfoot Boots. Those both seem good. Oh, that's an Aetherflux Reservoir for the Anthousa. Maybe Anthousa was on the combo deck. Someone was on a combo deck. There's an aggressive urge. All right. Oh, is there a green spell that they can, like... There's something. I don't know what it is, but I can envision the cards that make this go infinite. I just can't tell you what they are. But I can imagine them existing. So opponent's lands become 2/2s. One thing you have to be careful of, too, is that those lands don't get haste. So if you just played the land, then you won't be able to use it for mana if you turn it into a creature first. So opponent puts a Keen Sense on Anthousa and puts a Blossoming Defense on it. Cool. So, ooh, they're up to 43 life. And it's a 7/8 with Hexproof. What's giving it Hexproof? Oh, one of the spells. Blossoming Defense is giving it Hexproof. Okay, so that won't be a lasting thing. Next turn, if we can get the compass flipped over, then we can protect ourselves from it. But I think we're in line to take some damage here. Does it have lifelink? Not yet. Opponent just untapped all their lands, by the way. Used to Vitalize. Wow. Yeah, Vitalize is going to be pretty good for that deck. And going after the Unspeakable real hard. All right. Yeah, they seem to have... Well, everyone's got a little bit of something going on. Does it have trample? Does not have trample. Opponent going to do some chump blocking with the tokens. Yeah, that's totally fine. Is it damage to a player? Damage to a player. So they do not get to draw. Soul Ring for the Unspeakable. Sturmgeist over to the Anthousa. Yeah, they're probably the target now. They're at 48, so got to get their life total a bit lower. Stay out of range of the Aetherflux Reservoir. Sturmgeist will trigger. Opponent goes down to 45. Kega the Tidestar. Oh, that's a nasty card. Makes me not want to play anything good. The sword is probably our best bet. Sword and boots. Opponent said he fizzled a bit with the Aetherflux. Yeah, we noticed. We noticed. It wasn't too far away, though. Probably like one more spell. If they attacked... well, we still have the Dockside, so we would have blocked with Dockside. But actually, well, next turn they've got the Rogue's Passage, but we should be getting the Compass. Oh, that's a Mana Reflection. Oh, we so don't have answers for that. At least not anytime soon. We have Allah's Dust and Ugin to deal with enchantments, but we don't have them in hand, and still a lot of mana. Oh, that's a counterspell. Hoo, hoo, hoo. Oh, that's a big counterspell. Murmuring Mystic and Primal Amulet will trigger. Opponent's gonna crack their Tireless Tracker token. It'll get bigger. Opponent gets a Spirit. Opponent gets a Bird. And Mana Reflection gets countered. It's gonna bring it back to our turn. Play a mountain. We draw a mountain. Play a mountain. Kega is very scary, so I'm thinking I'm on like Sword, Tome of Legends, Boots, that sort of stuff this turn. Play the Sword. Put the Sword on our commander. Let's play the Tome of Legends. I've been trying to test this one out, and I really just haven't been able to get a look at it at all. So I think this is going to be a pretty good situation for it. We're playing a combat-focused deck, so play it before combat, obviously. It comes in with a counter. Should get one more when we go to attack right here. So we'll attack the Anthousa player because of Aetherflux Reservoir, and they're at 45. So Telim Tor will give itself +1/+1, and Tome of Legends gets a counter on it. We get to shoot something. Let's shoot Sturmgeist. Seems like a good idea. Slow opponent down a little bit. Sturmgeist down, we draw an Arch of Oriska. It's actually just mono red card draw. That's what the deck is. I did want to put a lot of draw in. There's a lot of like new things. Stuff like Tome of Legends and a bunch of artifacts, stuff like that. Endless Atlas, it all really helps out a lot. So we've got 6 cards in hand. I guess with that we just... I'm going to burn the treasure, draw with the tome, get my first look at it. Yeah, ooh, it's an Aggravated Assault. That's a real card. And at the end step, the Thaumatic Compass flips over, so now we've got some protection against some big stuff. We did put the Aetherflux Reservoir opponent down to 40. Means we'll have to cast several spells to get to 10. That's a Soul's Majesty. That's one way to do it. And that will trigger Anthousa. Uh-oh. So they get to turn some lands into creatures. They chose the ones they've already tapped. Interesting. A lot of math in that deck, figuring out which ones you need to be creatures and who you're attacking with and all that sort of stuff. Nature's Lore, get themselves a land. We don't have a great answer if opponent gets over 50 life. Opponent stops right there. That's good news for us. So still at 43. Gonna want to keep working on them. Glenn's still got some flyers right there that he can get in with. So got to keep their life total in check. The Unspeakable coming into play. Nice. Doesn't have haste. That's good news. We still have the Spires. That seems like the primary Spires target in this moment. Kega into Anthousa. Down to 38 they go. Glenn says achievement unlocked. Chaotix is the only one that hasn't cast their commander yet. They've got the mana to do it. They just gonna need to, take a turn off to do it here. It's only 3 mana too, which is, way more mana efficient than what everyone else is playing. Here comes his commander. Excellent. All right, everyone has met their requirement of casting their commander at least once. Raminop Excavator. I hear those are good. No lands in graveyard, though. Less good when no lands in graveyard. Does have a Tectonic Edge in play, though. Fortunately, it's tapped, so won't be able to do anything with it this turn. But next turn, they can start doing the Strip Mine thing. Opponent activates the Oran Reef and puts a +1/+1 counter on each green creature that entered the battlefield this turn. So that's going to be the Isao and the Raminop Excavator, and adding toughness, always a good thing. Adding power and toughness, not terrible. Tireless Tracker coming in our way. Yep, that's going to be 6/5 Trample Lifelink. We're just going to go ahead and take that. Actually, no, we don't need to. We're not going to get attacked. We can just use Spires. So Spires the Tireless Tracker. Almost forgot I had it. Brings it back to our turn. We draw a mountain. Let's play the Arch right here. So I'm thinking this. Cavalier of Flame has the ability to give our stuff mass haste, and that's really good, especially when you're talking about Inferno Titan and Combat Celebrant. So being that there's two green decks at the table, not expecting a lot in the way of board wipes. Blue player could have some sort of mass bounce. It's possible. But I'm thinking about trying to set up for the big turn next turn. And which means I want to get the Cavalier down this turn. And then we cast Inferno Titan, Combat Celebrant, give him haste, and we should be able to do a lot of damage with that. I think I'm also going to activate the Tome of Legends right here. Might as well keep drawing. We use the colorless mana to do it. Because we're also going to be able to cycle some stuff with the Cavalier of Flame. Ooh, we draw a Burnished Heart. Burnished Heart, probably a little bit slow right here. Like, if the game stalls and board wipes started flying, then we'd have time to Burnished Heart, but in the absence of that, I think it's put our foot on the gas time. So let's play the Cavalier of Flame. We're going to get to cycle. So I'm going to go land, and Burnished Heart. And like I said, I love Burnished Heart, but I just don't envision myself taking the time to actually stop and cast it. Here's a Gauntlet of Might. That's a good card. And a Cage Sun. Oh my. Well, play the Swiftfoot Boots. We could use the Spires to equip it, but I'd rather leave the Spires up. There's some fairly threatening things on board that I would love to not be attacked by. Ooh, also, Primal Amulet is one counter away. Seems a little scary. Keep sending the Telim over to Anthousa. That'll put a counter on Tome of Legends, and Telim will pump itself up. If we shot Chaotix Commander, he could just regenerate it, so we're not going to bother. Probably just going to shoot like a token right here. Uh-oh. Opponent's going to play Lace with Moonglaive. Target creature gains Death Touch until end of turn. It says draw a card. Aetherflux Reservoir will trigger, and Anthousa will trigger. Gets to turn some lands into creatures. They're already tapped, though. Think they've already passed blocks. I think they're just trying to draw a card for their turn. Oh, we can shoot a land. Shoot a land. Got him. Yeah, so they did that after blocks. They were just trying to draw a card for their next turn. So opponent's down to 34, 10 commander. We're up to 7 cards in hand. We've outdrawn everyone at the table mightily. Opponent has 5 cards in hand, though. They can probably get a lot done this turn. Aetherflux still scary if everything in their hand is like 1 and 2 mana. Oh, opponent's going to play Stone Calendar. Spells you cast costs up to 1 less to cast. They could use, what's that card? Helm of Awakening, but that does affect all players. I suppose they could also use, like, the Immortal Sun. Maybe they have them all. Who knows? Not out of it yet, as much as they had to tap out 5 to cast that. Cost reduction is a really big deal. I think cost reduction is often overlooked or underrated in how strong it can be. You need to build your deck in a certain way to make sure that you can use it really well, but when you do, it can be ridiculous. Opponents can play Traverse the Outlands. Okay, that seems fine. Get themselves a bunch of lands. The next turn is going to be some trouble, but if the board holds up, then next turn we'll also be able to do a lot of damage. Yeah, so far we've had a good little game going, you know, with commanders that are supposedly trash, but I'm having fun. I'm actually enjoying my flanking. Again, it's a little overcosted, like 3 or 4 mana would be much more ideal, but I'm having a good time with it, so yeah. Opponent lays down a Long Forgotten Gohei. Ooh, that one's good. Arcane spells cost 1 less to cast. Spirit creatures you control get +1/+1. By the way, I forgot to mention that Glenn is doing a mostly Kamigawa theme over there. Not every card is from Kamigawa, but definitely has a lot of Kamigawa flavor. You know, we see things like Keiga and the Unspeakable and the Long Forgotten Gohei. Opponent gonna send in the Unspeakable. Ooh, that's a dilemma. Nope, pulls it back. Sends it at us. Well, now they made the choice easy. If they sent it over to Anthousa, that was actually going to be a tricky call, because I want damage on Anthousa, but I also don't want them getting cards back. But, I mean, now that he's attacking us, Spire's the Unspeakable. Oh, all right. He had a plan all along. He's going to play a Veil of Secrecy. It's arcane. Target creature gains Shroud until end of turn. Yeah, okay. Okay. I see what's up. This will, in fact, tickle, as he pointed out in the comments. You know, to some degree, I hope we draw a mountain off the top. I was not counting on, like, not drawing any lands at all right there, but we have dried up on lands. Actually, you know what we can do this turn? We can play Sword of Sinew and Steel and blow up this Aetherflux Reservoir so we don't have to worry about it anymore. I'm thinking Sword of Sinew and Steel and Combat Celebrant. Opponent's going to get back their Veil of Secrecy. Yeah, that seems fine. Well, fine in the sense of, like, it's probably not actually that great for us, but until a better plan comes up. I mean, do we just have to Alpha Strike the blue player? Put the sword on it, plus the attacking power is 5. That'll be, what? So that's 6, 7 power. If we could get an extra combat, that would be 14. Can we get 2 extra combats? Chaotic says, time to bring out the prickly cactus for some good old-fashioned violating. Oh, this is totally... Oh, whew, thank God. All right, so he's going to use Tectonic Edge on the Primal Wellspring. That seems like a very good idea. And he could theoretically recast it and then shoot our Spires, which I would not love. Which he just did. So he replays a Tectonic Edge, gets another clue. If we could find a Blasphemous Act, that would be ideal, because we have 2 pro-red swords. Sylvan Caryatid. Fintorn Elves. Gonna activate Orin Reef of the Vastwood, pump them up. Yeah. A lot of toughness. Not so easy to get through over there. Tireless Tracker into GVR. Yeah, board wipe is very much where I want to be right now. Still a bunch of open mana, though, for the Unspeakable. They've shown that they are playing counterspells. Scab Clan Berserker. Not really what I was looking for. Activate the Tome of Legends. Dracuseth is interesting. It's a flying blocker, if nothing else. It is smaller than the Unspeakable, though, unless we blow up the long-forgotten Gohei. Man, we could use a Feast and Famine just from, like, a mana standpoint. The Berserker, I don't think, is getting through. Opponent's down to 20. Maybe we start thinking about the Alpha Strike. This will be 5 damage. 2 more off the sword if we shoot them in the face. Oh, yeah, we could just go Combat Celebrant and Fire Breathe them to death. Unless we get countered. If we get countered, this is all going to go terribly wrong. Let's try it. Gauntlet of Might. Combat Celebrant. Boots on the Celebrant. We're going to have an odd number of mana, so I figured that seems like a fine place to put it. Go to combat. Everything at Glen? Tome of Legends will trigger. Telim Tor will trigger. Oh, I forgot to exert it! No! Oh, God. Magic Online. Opponent's going to cast a Rattle Chains. Give Hexproof to their commander. That makes us wide open. Oh, that's so bad. Opponent going to do some blocking. We're going to lose the Combat Celebrant. Oh. Sword of Fire and Ice will trigger. Opponent goes down to 14. What are we shooting? How much damage is on this? 2 damage. That one's not going to die. Shoot opponent. Do we go in the face? Yeah, shoot him. Shoot this bird. We draw a Solemn Simulacrum. Thinking right here, just put the boots on Cavalier. So we have to discard at our end step. I think Endless Atlas seems the least useful right now. So we need a couple things to happen. We need to not lose to Aetherflux Reservoir right here. We need to not lose to the Unspeakable right here. We then need to not lose to Chaotix. Then, after that, we need this Gauntlet of Might and the rest of our stuff in play to hold up. If that happens, then next turn we can have the turn we were hoping to have last turn. Ooh, that's a Rites of Flourishing. Anthousa going to swing our way. Yep, we have no blockers, because bad things happened. Yeah, knock yourself out, draw a card. 2 cards I feel less good about. I mean, so the Unspeakable is just going to give itself Shroud anyway. Maybe we're Spiresing on this Anthousa. Yeah, I think that's the play now. Be drawing multiple cards off Anthousa. Seems bad. Ugh, opponent's going to shoot our Gauntlet of Might. That hurts. That hurts. At least it uses up some of their mana. But now they're up to 43. That's going to be a real problem. Harvest Season. Search the up to 47. The next one puts him above 50. Down to one card in hand. And it's a Worldly Tutor. Puts him at 52. That's a tricky place to be. Opponent gets to draw a card at the upkeep. Yep. How can we deal with that Aether Flux trigger? This is not the right deck. Glenn sending the Unspeakable over to Anthousa. All right, here's some ways that we could potentially deal with that. Fault Line is probably our best bet. If they activate, then we can Fault Line in response and burn them out. Ooh, opponent takes the hit. Does not shoot them. Well, yeah, that's true. If they just go down to 2, then they die to either of us. So nice play by Glenn. Glenn gets back his Peer Through the Mists. He's then going to activate. He's going to sacrifice Buried Ruin to get back Primal Amulet. Here comes the Primal Amulet. Chaotix cracks a clue. Chaotix has the ability to put some damage down if he wants to. It depends on who he wants to attack. Everyone's got something. Like, no one has nothing right now, so... You know, it's that toss-up of who do you want to deal with most. Rites of Flourishing will trigger. We could use some extra land plays. That's a thing we're missing pretty hard right now. Landfall trigger for Tireless Tracker. Ooh, Groundskeeper. Return target basic land card from your graveyard to your hand. No lands in the graveyard currently. Thrum the Last Troll. Yeah. Sweet card. Can activate Oran Reef. Yeah, pumping up some of those creatures. Yeah, Chaotix has a nice little go-wide army over there. Got some Regenerate on them, so not completely exposed to a board wipe. Doesn't look awful. Oh, that's a Luxodon Warhammer. It just got scarier. So he's got some big trample-y things. Doesn't equip it. Maybe trying to hold up for the... Alright, Tireless Tracker coming our way. Let's see what he does with the rest of the team. Yeah, keeps the rest of the team right where it is. Just wants to get us for 8. Okay. I guess that's going to happen. Shooting our Gauntlet of Might was probably the worst thing of everything that went down. Because we are falling behind on mana production. And we have a bunch of, like, big, clunky things in our hand. And just, it's going to be tough to get them all. If that Gauntlet of Might stuck, then Dracuseth, Inferno Titan go wild. And if there's mana left over, Aggravated Assault. There's a Suckata Lancer, I think is how that's pronounced. Looking for lands right here, honestly. Rites of Flourishing will trigger. Fiery Confluence has the ability to destroy artifacts. I think there's a few of those we need to get rid of. Primal Amulet, that thing, Aether Flux Reservoir, and yeah, okay. That seems like a start to the plan. Still can't find a board wipe for the life of me. Or lands. Fiery Confluence for 2 would kill some of Chaotix things, but it doesn't deal with all the problematic stuff. I mean, part of me wants to attack Anthousa. Try to get their life lower. Let's activate the Tome of Legends just to see if we can catch Blasphemous Act. Nope, it's a Chaos Warp, though. It's actually helpful. Maybe we attack Anthousa and just let Kega be. Yeah, I think I like that. Although, do we have to attack them if we're... Well, I guess we don't know if the Fiery Confluence is going to resolve. But Unspeakable didn't attack us last turn. I guess if we keep keeping the Aether Flux Reservoir around, makes us not the target. So send over Telim, get a counter on Tome of Legends, give it +1/+1. If I had known we would go, like, how many cards has it been since a land? It has been a lot of cards since we've seen a land, then I would have definitely kept the 2 that we had. All right, so we get in for opponents up to 5. Opponents up to 15 commander from us. I think I'm going to shoot one of Chaotix Dorks right here. Oh, we draw a trading post. Where are the lands? Oh my god. Oh, discard a card to gain 4 life with this trading post. Doesn't seem terrible. So we're going to want to leave up mana for the Chaos Warp. We can't Cage Sun. We won't have mana for the... We won't have mana to Chaos Warp if we do. I think we lay down a Solemn Simulacrum. So we get a land into play tapped. We have 2 land plays remaining and just can't draw lands for the life of us. We have 10 cards in hand. The bad news is I want most of them. Yeah, get rid of the Lancer, get rid of the Berserker, I guess. Well, still 1 to go. Ugh. Sinew and Steel? No, Sinew and Steel has value. Maybe Trading Post? Trading Post, I guess. Rites of Flourishing trigger for opponent. Rampant Growth for opponent. Aether Flux Reservoir will trigger. Here comes a Gargos. Gargos is really strong. Etherflux Reservoir will trigger. Irresistible Prey. Target creature must be blocked if able this turn. Gonna put it on the Anthousa. Etherflux Reservoir will trigger. Gargos will trigger. It's gonna fight something. Let's see what it wants to fight. Our commander, of course. Opponent's lands become creatures. Opponent draws another card. I'd like to see them fight something that's not ours. There's a Pyrohemia in this deck. Wouldn't be awful. Maybe a little short on red, but we could definitely control things better than we are. It would crush Anthousa. They wouldn't be able to make their lands into creatures. Opponent's gonna reach through the mists and draw a card. Primal Amulet will get a counter. Murmuring Mystic will trigger. Opponent gonna send the Unspeakable over to Anthousa once again. Unspeakable's gonna trigger. Gonna get that. Reach through the mists. Nice. Really need like a mana geyser right now. Didn't put it in this deck, sadly. We just need like a burst of mana to cast these cards. I think Feast and Famine is about the only way we're really going to get it. Maybe we catch a mana crypt somewhere. Ooh, Hunted Phantasm. Creates 5 1/1 red goblin creature tokens. Let's see who's getting them. Gives them to us. Sweet. We've got some blockers. If they hold up, that's a lot of damage with this Cavalier Flame. Chaotic's going to crack a clue. Cracks another clue. Tireless Tracker getting large. Rites of Flourishing will trigger. Landfall gets a clue. Oh, that's an Nylea. They're all going to have trample. Chaotix also has a lot of mana, so we can just pump mana into stuff. Activates Orin of the Vast Reef. Nylea getting pumped up. Oh, that's an overwhelming Stampede. Until end of turn, creatures you control gain trample and +X/+X, where X is the greatest power among creatures you control. Well, time for the Chaos Warp. Chaos Warp on Tireless Tracker. This will reduce the power a little bit. Hopefully GVR has a counter. The trample's going to be pretty serious. He's going to reach through the mists to draw a card. Primal Amulet, Murmuring Mystic. Oh my god, he just miracled a Devastation Tide. Chaotix cracks a clue. Top deck for life. Yeah, no kidding. Here comes the Devastation Tide. We're not dead. Worried about what that means for the Etherflux Reservoir, though. Opponent's got a lot of mana over there. I think some of what we have to do has to be just, like, attack them. This will give us time to get Cage Sun in, I think. Although, I'll tell you what, though. Getting 0 lands last turn off the Rites of Flourishing and all of our draws and not making any land plays really hurts. 2 extra lands right here would be so important. We can't even Dockside Extortionist because no one has stuff in play. Ooh, Chaotix has to discard a lot. Commander back to the command zone. Probably gives up on a few dorks and things. Luxodon Warhammer down. We draw Jabari's Banner. We can give our creatures flanking. That one's not going to be the most helpful. I think let's get the Cage Sun. Choosing red. So Cavalier's going to come in. Man, definitely the Banner doesn't feel necessary in this moment. Everything else I kind of like, but we need to find, like, a land. Sinew and Steel I sort of want to keep around for when we eventually draw some kind of removal. Do we actually need Tome of Legends? Rites of Flourishing will be coming back? I don't think we do. Let's cycle these two. There's a land, finally. Play the land. Sunbird's Invocation. If we untap with our stuff, next turn could get wild. Let's get Swiftfoot Boots and activate Cavalier. Swing into Anthousa. We know they still have the Etherflux Reservoir. They have 7 cards in hand, so with a lot of mana. So trying to get their life below Etherflux point is going to be where we want to be, I think. We're still going to have to discard stuff, which I don't love. So, like, here's the thing. If we never draw lands, then we kind of need Solemn Simulacrum. If we do draw lands, then we don't need it as badly. I guess I'm going to discard it. And I don't know. We have the Fiery Confluence, which can kill a lot of the artifacts that are a problem for us. So I guess I'm giving up on the Sinew and Steel right here. The Fire and Ice gives us protection from Glenn's deck, which has been serving us well. Opponent starts off with the Stone Calendar. Yep. Here comes the Gargos. Doesn't play the Reservoir first. Seems like a little bit of a punt. Or they're figuring that Reservoir is getting them killed. Verdant Rebirth. Gargos. Yep, gonna fight our Cavalier. Well, opponent's gonna lose some life. Some lands in our graveyard. Little chip damage. Does get rid of our Mass Haste. Don't love that. Probably should have equipped the boots. Actually, I 100% should have equipped the boots. Yeah, that's a punt now that I'm looking at it. Didn't think about the Gargos coming back and the fight spell. Kills Gargos, though. That's cool. So that problem's down. There's the Etherflux Reservoir. Yeah, I'm surprised they didn't go for that first, because I've already played a couple spells. Maybe they didn't have a clear plan on what they were doing. There's the Rites of Flourishing. Okay. Brings them back to 34. Importantly, now we got some ammo for Dockside. I'm expecting a few things to come back for Glenn right here. One of the things that might allow us to win this game is the timing of where this Devastation Tide happened in the turn order. We were able to rebuild first. Chaotix was the one that got hit hardest. He was basically tapped out, ready to attack and do all that stuff. And we're the first one to be able to slam everything in place, so we don't have to answer everything, which gives us time to play the Cage Sun and do stuff like that. So that's all really important. That changes the dynamic of the game pretty dramatically, I think. And that's one of the reasons that Cyclonic Rift is such a crazy, crazy card, because it's almost like that Devastation Tide, very similar, but all of the time. It's always an instant. The fact that it was able to be casted at instant speed right there was, just dumb luck. But depending on who gets to rebuild first, it can really reshape the game. And even with more traditional board wipes, the sorcery speed stuff, the Wrath of Gods, and this and that, the player that gets to start casting things first probably going to be in a slightly better spot than the player who just went and now everyone's ahead of them and they're trying to catch up. And, and some of it will depend on what those players are actually casting, but yeah, I like where we're at right now because we got to recast all of our stuff first. Here comes the Murmuring Mystic. Opponent casts a bunch of things. Soul Ring, Sky Diamond, Everflowing Chalice, Murmuring Mystic, and now Primal Amulet. Yeah, Dockside's going to be making us a lot of mana. Make up for all those land drops we've been missing. Rites of Flourishing trigger for our opponent. Sylvan Library coming in for our opponent. Another enchantment. I like it. Groundskeeper. Thrun, the Last Troll. A Broken Bond. Shoots the Aetherflux Reservoir. Oh, we're in great shape now. If they shot the Cage Sun, that would really stop everything we're about to do. The fact that if we untap with this Cage Sun, we're going to be in nearly game-winning position. I think we can probably kill 2 players. There's a land, finally. And that's an Ugin. Ugin's pretty good. Play this mountain. Do we Sunbird's Invocation? What are we doing this turn? We could Boots and try to Aggravated Assault with Dracuseth. That's 14 mana, 15, 16, 18, 19. We have 19 mana. Our commander's 7. That's 7's a bit, but we have opponent at 15 commander damage. Oh, that's tempting. That's very tempting. We can only haste one thing at this moment. Maybe we just Sunbird's Invocation and Dracuseth. Yeah, let's do that. Sunbird's Invocation. Dracuseth. Sunbird's Invocation will trigger. Oh, that's a Neheb. Neheb with Aggravated Assault probably wins us the game. Get Neheb. Equip the Boots on Dracuseth. Play Dockside Extortionist. Sunbirds will trigger. Nothing there. Make a bunch of treasures. Play Aggravated Assault. We find a Vandal Blast. We'll Vandal Blast on the Primal Wellspring. Yep, Chaotix taps out. Is that flying? That one does not have flying. Attack into Anthousa. Get a Dracuseth trigger. Start shooting stuff. That's 15 red mana. Oh my. Play Ugin. Sunbirds will trigger, indicating to opponents it's okay to scoop. Oh, that's a Volcanic Offering. Yeah, and they scoop right there. Wow, that was a really cool game. I actually really enjoyed that game. So, thoughts on the commanders that fail. Obviously, they aren't the most powerful things going. Like, there are better aggressive red commanders that you can play. Neheb, for example, who we saw right there at the end, is going to give you more. On the other hand, Telim Tor is not threatening enough that it's stuck around for a pretty long time into this game. Now, there wasn't so much removal flying around. In a situation where someone's just wiping the board every turn, Telim Tor is not where you want to be. But the flanking was better than I thought. As soon as I put a sword on it, and swords are good in general, but the fact that it starts cutting other things down to size, it pumps itself up. That +1/+1 on Telim Tor and the -1/-1 on the blocker makes a lot of things not able to block it profitably, with only one equipment on it. So the second you put an equipment on it, it's actually reasonable. I mean, it doesn't blow you away, but I really enjoyed the deck. I enjoyed what our opponents were doing too. Everyone had a bunch of really cool things happening. Again, this is more powered down commander, but I still thought that we were playing in a very nice casual to mid power kind of range. Obviously, the cards in your 99 are better than your commander most of the time, but still having some ability to synergize with your commander at least a little bit, I thought was pretty cool. And I don't know, I just thought it was a really cool game. I thought people brought really cool decks. The Anthousa deck was cool, trying to do the Etherflux thing right there with all the cantrips, and, you know, we had to keep attacking it every turn. The Unspeakable got a couple hits in there, got some extra card draw with the, was it Reach Through the Mists? And I had that big Devastation Tide. The Devastation Tide kind of set us up for the win. You know, denied Chaotix the win. I don't think they intended that, but that's just kind of how it played out. But yeah, I had a lot of fun just kind of, you know, having a grindier game, not tons and tons of removal flying around. I was trying so very badly through the middle parts of the game to find the Blasphemous Act. I think it was Chain Reaction in here too. Yeah, we have a Chain Reaction. And I couldn't find either of them. We had the 2 pro red swords, and that would have given us a ton of protection. Now, we almost lost the game when I forgot to take that second combat with the Combat Celebrant, and that's a muscle memory problem. Whenever I'm doing a big attack, I'm used to just going right-click, attack with all into certain player, and you need to not do that with Combat Celebrant. You have to specifically exert it, and I haven't been using Combat Celebrant of late. I haven't played it in, like, probably almost 2 years, and so I just kind of forgot that you have to click through that extra step, so that was a big problem there. The other place where we almost lost the game was the fact that we couldn't catch lands after we cycled with the Cavalier of Flame, and I was thinking about that. I'm like, if we don't catch lands, this is actually going to get really awkward. I actually thought about just not cycling it all right there because I was actually very happy with what was in our hand. We had a lot of things we wanted, including lands, and then we proceeded to not draw any lands at all. So, you know, that was something that I did think about. I don't think I vocalized it when I went through it, but it was on my mind. We did get a look at this Tome of Legends, a card that I've been trying to try out in my Aurelia deck. I can't seem to draw it at any point where, you know, I get a good look at it, but we got to look at it here, and I mean, it drew, what, probably 3 or 4 cards, and that's about what I would expect it to do. You know, I'm not looking for it to be like Rishkar's Expertise on Galta or something like that, but when you just need to look at like 3 to 4 extra cards, I think it's going to be very solid. And especially in a deck with some red where you can get some extra combats. The fact that it's 2 and 1 to activate makes it very affordable. You can do it in the middle of a turn where you're still getting other stuff done, so it's not taking your entire turn. Like, you know, Memory Jar is a card that I've played for a while in decks like this, and Memory Jar takes most of your turn, and then you have to untap with it. Tome of Legends doesn't do that. You can do other stuff, which is what makes it pretty cool, so... You know, just being mana efficient. You know, as far as the deck, I've talked about it. Again, a lot of the things in the 99 will outshine the commander, but I thought our commander did a very reasonable job of carrying some swords. That flanking actually mattered a bit. The fact that it pumped itself up. Some of the other things in the deck, like these guys, you know, the creatures that are in there just because they have flanking, meh. They weren't the best. You know, that's probably the first thing that I would cut, you know, so what really happens? They become 3/3s. They could theoretically trade with a 4/4, which is, it's not nothing. It's not nothing, but, you know, I think where it's probably a better place to be is using, where'd it go? Is using this Jabari's Banner to just put flanking on something good like a Neheb or a Torbrand or, you know, something really cool like that. And, you know, that's probably a better way to go. Not a lot of flanking in the game, so I think there's this, and I think there's one aura that gives flanking, and I think that's really about it as far as your options go. But yeah, I had a lot of fun with it. Again, we had a discussion about what we were playing. We all knew we were playing these quote-unquote commanders that fail. But, you know, once you have that conversation of like, hey, let's play something relatively casual, commander's not going to come out and be crazy. It was actually a lot of fun, and I enjoyed it. Actually, you know what I think it was? I think it was that because the commanders aren't super strong, I think we were all playing commander a little more in the way that, like, the format was sort of conceptualized, in that you're not just tutoring for the thing that wins you the game. You're not generating absurd amounts of value out of your command zone, which is, you know, a big thing that's happening now. I liked it because it wasn't just untap with your commander and then you're really far ahead because of it. And that's the way a lot of games go now, because a lot of commanders cheat mana cost, draw cards, or just generate a lot of value in some way. And those things are really powerful. And I think I forgot what it's like to play in a game where it's okay to let someone untap with their commander and not have to worry about the game just ending or them being so far ahead that you're now in a spot where you can't win. Anyway, hope you guys enjoyed this video. As always, feel free to comment, like, or subscribe. Be sure to ring the bell. And yeah, thank you for watching.